yes, this is the way you need to forward yourself. Otherwise, there will be some kind of challenges you need to face in the future. And acclimatizing with the disciplined lifestyle, mostly health hygiene, social distancing, routine working, this and that. Because social distancing is a process. It's need to maintain all the time across the life, not only the COVID situation. That is the learning we have learned through COVID. And now, new and creative way of adaptation. That is very important. And COVID had teach us that digitalization got the priorities such as augmented reality. All the time we are talking about augmented reality. All the time we are talking about virtual reality, but we are not embracing it in such a manner. COVID is reminding us, you the people need to add yourself with the augmented reality, with the virtual reality. More, you need to be dependent on e-commerce. Dr. Monir Islam sir has mentioned that Amazon has gained a huge profit. How? It is due to e-commerce, advancement of e-commerce, digital information flow through URL or URI or URN. And what it is the single link. Single link is good enough to solve our any problem, any challenges, and anything. And that is why Amazon has gained huge profit through this single URL. Attending meeting digitally, we have forgot. We can attend the meeting digitally, but now we are habituated. We are very much acclimatized that we can attend the meeting digitally, because in Bangladesh, you see there are huge traffic jam, but we can't attend the meeting on time. But if it is like that, if it is through digitally, it is very easier for us. There is some benefit. It is giving some features and benefit to us to attend the meeting on time and properly, effectively and efficiently. Work from office. We didn't think in for the developing countries earlier. We didn't think about it. That we can do the job from the house. Now we can do it, and it's became our part and parcel of life. It's become our normal lifestyle. And implementation of artificial intelligence. Yes, we are talking about artificial intelligence, but now we are thinking that we need to embrace it as much as possible, as soon as possible, because otherwise you will lose something in the future. We need to talk about we have the concept about blockchain, but we are not practicing it. We are not experiencing it. So blockchain, we need to implement the blockchain properly. Use of Bitcoin now. And now digital coin is very important because COVID has taught us how we can use the Bitcoin, robotic technology. Yes, robotic technology need to be essential, very essential, and it's give us so much importance in our brain, in our mind, that you need to follow the robotic technology, experiencing how to face the pandemic challenges. Since we didn't face that kind of challenges earlier, we have challenges. So it has given a good experience how to face the pandemic challenges. And post research to innovate vaccine by shortest possible time. Great experience, great achievement, which we did not get earlier. Now the researchers are make themselves ready how to innovate something by the shortest possible time. Big space to work global community in a single platform. It is very required for ourselves. A single world, single community, think through in a single idea so that we can achieve a inclusive growth. And that is the loss and gain which we have achieved through a pandemic situation. Now I'm gonna talk about the next one, concept of the webinar, the single link and single click. And you see, earlier I told you there is a construct. What it is the normal, it is the new normal and COVID-19. And surrounding this construct, there are three factors or complex variables: economic impact and business strategy or supply chain management. Yes, all are dependable to each other. All those are dependable factors. And the independable is one is the all three is dependable factor, and which is also influencing our new normal life and COVID-19. And if you talk about the economic impact, it has two impact only, negative and positive. It will go upward, it will go downward. It will not be stagnant all the time. And we need to accept it. We need to accept it mentally, physically. Yes, sometimes it will be gone down, sometimes it will be gone up. So how quickly how quickly it is going down, how quickly it is going up, that is very big challenges. So we need to acclimatize or adapt ourselves with these changes. And what are the factors to acclimatize ourselves with these economic changes? There are big issues. One is the business strategies. We need to strategies, and another is supply chain management. And if you talk about the business strategies, all the time we are talking about the blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy is become in our mind that only we can make the changes through the blue ocean strategy. But there are some kinds of there are also importance of red ocean strategy. Red ocean strategy, because if you talk about the COVID, you are getting benefit through the traditional things. What it is by inhaling some
COVID as
kinds
a
of
pandemic
hot water
and 16th
something,
March,
and
once again the
we are gargling
global sell-off
something.
happened due to US.
We are having some hot water, that is the red ocean. Red ocean also important strategically. If I talk about the COVID and blue ocean strategy, also very much important for ourselves, which is known as vaccine. Still, it requires something, but in if you talk about the blue ocean strategy, what is it? Innovation. Innovation means that is we are trying to innovate the vaccine. But until and unless we innovate something, we need to follow the radiation strategy. And radiation strategy, how we can and radiation strategy, we can blend the radiation. Radiation means it is the imitation. Imitation. It is me to something. So it is very important to blend the radiation and blue ocean, and which will be the imitative and innovative one. Imitative and innovative one to save ourselves until and unless we can innovate something which is the right kind of solution for our problems. So until and unless we do it, we need to follow the innovative and imitative, innovative strategy. So we need to find it out. Since the time is very less, I cannot elaborately discuss it. I can tell that we need to keep in our mind that reference strategy, it is something we need to do to face or combat any kind of challenges, whatever we are facing and whatever we're gonna face in the future. If you talk about the supply chain management, yes, supply chain management is a traditional concept, but after that, there are two concepts there. Order is given the value chain management. Now it has come the world chain management. What is the value chain management? Value chain management basically all about the business strategy. It is include everything and anything. What is we are talking about the business strategy. What is the world chain management? In case of value chain management, what you do in our place, we are bringing all those things which is value for money, which is give more effective and efficient production engineering process, to enhance the production engineering process. If you talk about the world chain management, what it is, we will bring all our things, the places where it will give more mileage, it will give us more convenience and complacency to do something for the world community, for the global community. But nowadays, we are talking of whatever I have talked about in the earlier what it is to link messaging. Only single URL, only single URI, or only single URL is good enough to change the economy, to combat the challenges, whatever we are facing at present, whatever we will face in the coming days. And that is why I'm saying that single link is good enough for ourselves. And if you want single link, single click, and the multi solution. A link can give you the better solution, whatever you are expecting, whatever you are thinking, whatever you are trying to embrace. And that is why I'm trying to say single link means is single URL. So we need to concentrate ourselves on digitalization. You need to concentrate ourselves about the augmented, that is
Thank you, sir.
AR, VR, or something like that. So my that is why my concept of this webinar is that single link, single click, but it will give us the multi solution. That is the only way by which we can combat the COVID-19. We can adapt ourselves with the new normal. Thank you very much. Thank you for the patience hearing.
Thank you, sir. Excellent presentation. Now we would like to request Dr. Nadia bin Amin to present his paper.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Thank you. First of all, I would like to show my gratitude to Professor Mahbub Ali sir and all the faculties of LSE, London School of Economics, for giving me this platform to share my discussion points. So actually, I will not show any PowerPoint presentation today because I'm going to express my discuss on the present situation of women entrepreneurs in Bangladesh. So I will just read out from my paper key points from my paper concept note. If anybody wants to have a detailed version, I can share it through email later. Thank you so much. So I will just start it now. Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
Okay. First of all, actually, the name of my paper is Women Entrepreneurs in Bangladesh: Perspective Facing COVID-19. Just a little bit of background of women entrepreneurs in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has gained excellence in its economic order, educational development, socio-economic changes, and living standards. The dark ages of women remaining behind the doors have given a way to female empowerment through the educational and income earning openings. The greatest advancements is observed as women's increasing participation as entrepreneurs within Bangladesh as well as in the international area. Since entrepreneurship is a critical driver of innovation and economic growth, fostering women entrepreneurship is an important part of economic growth strategy in many local and national governments around the world. So, amid the COVID pandemic situation, many companies, particularly small businesses owned by women, are feeling the strain of certain regulations that may force them to all but close down. In the past, female entrepreneurship in Bangladesh witnessed many transformations. Women entrepreneurs who accepted the challenges of life and arose as leaders in the socio-economic development in Bangladesh and for themselves and their families, also add towards the socio-political development of the women. During such COVID-19 outbreak, many rural and uneducated women who are raising family incomes through microventures and reinvesting their earnings in their families and communities are facing a severe crisis in all areas of life. Last but not the least, what we see small business owners and women entrepreneurs may also be encouraged to adapt to try to diversify what products or services they offer to customers. Therefore, thinking outside of the box to develop new streams of income may help to overcome such challenging moments. Our ability to bounce back from any sort of crisis is also dependent on how we include everyone equally. If more women entrepreneurs take part in shaping a new social and economic order, chances are that it will be more responsive to everyone's need and make us all more resilient to future shock. So, what is the present status of women entrepreneurs in Bangladesh? Statistics shows that 7.8 million women are involved in entrepreneurship, And contribution, if we look at the contribution to SME, we find that 40% of the SME are contributing to the GDP growth. And within this 40%, we find that women entrepreneurs are involved in the SME sector is 65 to 70%. So women entrepreneurs are, contributing in the GDP growth in a huge amount of percentage. So now what we see when I am representing a trade body of women entrepreneurs, which is called WEND. In short, this is Women Entrepreneurs Network for Development Association. So through this WEN, we have conducted a semi-structured survey on 100 of its total members, and highlights of the findings obtained from this exercise are presented here. The business units studied have been classified on the basis of their size of operation into three groups, namely grassroots, small and medium. Systematic random sampling technique was utilized in selecting the units for the survey. The following table summarizes the scope of business and economic activities of the women entrepreneurs, specifically WEN members. We found that we studied out of 350 grassroots, 34 target sample. Out of 333 small level women entrepreneurs, out of 100 medium, 33 studied women entrepreneurs. So we covered 100 women entrepreneurs, and we found that, I will go in a very brief, that considering all the festives, we found that they have gone through a loss of 100 crores taka for only 1 month. So if we calculate with 7.8 million, we can get the picture of the whole country, that how much loss incurred during this pandemic situation. As micro and small entrepreneurship entities are mainly labor intensive, we also see that a significant amount of cash is needed to pay for salaries, wages, failing which is large number of workers will fall into considerable level of poverty, job loss, hunger and distress. Given this situation and considering grave uncertainty of the near future, women entrepreneurs of the country are at despicable position now and are literally unable to survive and progress any further on their own without enormous amount of assistance, and mainly financial assistance from the government and the policy maker. Okay. So what was our what to do actually? What was our appeal? Women wanted, why they wanted this financial support? Women entrepreneurs of Bangladesh now stands at a crossroad of either extinction or survival. So what to do actually? We were going through the study, and we thought that what should be done for these women entrepreneurs. So only asking for the funds was not enough for them. So what to do? First of all, women entrepreneurs, they were recommended for the diversification of business from their traditional business style like boutique, parlor and food. They were asked to diversify different products like agro, food, light engineering, plastic, leather, more focus on export readiness projects, and what should be their mode of businesses, and they should transform their mode of businesses mode of businesses from physical store to virtual platform. What are the virtual platforms they should use? That Facebook, YouTube, website, Instagram, Shopify, etc. Then we were looking into the study that how should they be supported for this using this virtual platform, that we found that they lack in technical know-how, and they lack in computer literacy, they lack in physical accessibility of infrastructure to use virtual platform like computer, like internet. So what should be done? So from when we have some recommendations that we can, what when can support these women entrepreneurs to deal during this COVID to carry on their business. So the recommendations I'm making it very brief. So the recommendations we found from them actually, that to replicate a small eBay or Etsy for local market, for the women entrepreneurs, where they can upload their products. Okay, so they are trying to come into digital marketing. They're preferring to get involved in virtual marketing. Secondly, uh, Etsy and eBay, how they can, these platform can help them. They want individual platform for these women entrepreneurs, which can act as eBay and Etsy only for women entrepreneurs. So from rural level to national level to global level, they can upload their product and they can promote and sell their product through online media. So this was the basic recommendations we found came out of the study. And another thing, to help women easily to gain access to customers through this platform, they can gain access to the customers. Secondly, another thing, they wanted it to be designed in a very simple and easy way to use. So as women in Bangladesh, we know that they have got some challenges regarding computer and educational literacy. So they were asking us to make it a simpler version. So we found that we need a customized platform, virtual platform or digital marketing platform for our women entrepreneurs to upload there and promote and sell their product. And also, why they wanted this? They wanted when and to navigate shipping and payment on women entrepreneurs, and because they are lacking, starting from developing the platform, taking photography and making it up to the international level, and dealing with shipping and payment
Just,
structures. So they
madam,
wanted
don't
executed.
mind.
Yes.
Just 1 minute time.
Okay. Yes. And what are the challenges they are, they are facing for getting into digital platform? They are facing a platform with the ensuring the quality and of the product, idea, services, or deciding and defining actually which has got demand in the market for the target customer. And secondly, challenges they're facing to literacy level uh, for online, technical know-how, and also infrastructure, real know-how. Finally, what they have recommended that they really need to survive and to get over this to sustain in the during this COVID situation. They want a absolute women-based virtual platform, like smaller version of Alibaba, Amazon, Daraz, eBay, Etsy, which will help them to upload their product and keep them their livelihood sustainable, because they are in a really very very problematic situation in this during this COVID. So that was my actually findings in a very key form. If you want the entire presentation, I can share it through email. Thank you everybody for your having patience. So I had to make it very precise. Thank you so much. Any question I can answer. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. If I expect that you will submit the article, which will be published in the book. Now, I would like to request Dr. Ashu Jain from India. She will present, and time is 10 minutes.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you. All right. My presentation is visible to you. Please just give a yes to me.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Mahmood, for giving me this opportunity to present my paper over here. So I'll just start with the presentation. I will not waste much of your time. So this paper is based upon a very observational study. I have not taken any critical analysis of anything. It is a very simple and observational study. Topic is analysis of impact of COVID-19 on entrepreneurship and business in India. So basically, I have tried to cover almost all the subject or and area of the business in India as well as entrepreneurship. So if I will skip this introduction, so I don't think it is needed. So I will only start with the entrepreneurship. That is basically a French word, entreprendre. It is taken from undertake certain activities, uncertain activities. Generally, any person starting a new project or trying a new opportunity is called an entrepreneur. So basically, this is what we need to know about it. And the story of Indian entrepreneurship is filled with inconsistencies. During the trend and to the self in this very much. I will just talk about the qualities of an entrepreneur. Why am I showing this slide? Is just because during this pandemic, if one is not possessing these qualities, it simply means that person is not able to survive in this particular market and in the scenario. So that these are the quality which I feel one entrepreneur must have. Basically, it is not needed in the paper, but just because I thought to take it, that's why I have taken. That's it. So objective of the study was to analyze or increase or decrease in the entrepreneurial opportunities in selective areas during COVID-19 pandemic in India, and to understand the Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India scheme. So basically these two objectives I had taken in the mind because the time was very limited, so that I couldn't get time to take even more objectives for this paper. Data well formulated questionnaire was prepared and circulated through online and got the return mail of total 149 respondents. Secondary data was collected from secondary sources like magazines, journals, and newspapers. And the methodology used for the research was analysis and interpreting the data collected through online survey and secondary sources. So there are some limitations of the study. The study is limited with the futuristic approach. The data is collected online, so reliability may be missing, and data is based on present scenario, so long-term data cannot be evaluated, and gender and profession was not kept in mind during circulation of this questionnaire, so that the results may be biased. I don't know the reliability of the results, but just because I have taken the survey, that is why I have presented the study. So basically, if we talk about discussion, so this is the main theme of the paper, that the whole world is suffering because of the pandemic. So India is. And active cases in India as of today is 27,06,450 and has faced around almost more than 51,797 deaths, which is really an unneglectable figure. COVID has changed the entire life and way of living drastically. Now, face masks, sanitizers, and the Indian culture, namaste, have become the part of new normal. India is expected of total lockdown from 21st March to 31st July, as one of my friends just have spoken about it. So we'll not discuss much on this. During the pandemic, India suffered disastrous economic loss, around 32,000 crore per day. The developing country like India has been the witness of such pandemic for the fourth time after independence, and around 41 lakh people have lost their jobs, and endless companies are at the door of shutdown. So it's really a big hit for the Indian economy. See, this is the estimated cost of the coronavirus lockdown on the Indian economy in 2020 in billion US dollars. You just can see the modest partial lockdown. During modest partial lockdown, the total cost of the COVID lockdown was Indian economy, the burden on the Indian economy was 12.5 billion US dollars. During strict partial lockdown, it was 17.6 billion US dollar. And during total lockdown, it was around 26 billion US dollars, which is really the biggest amount for any developing country like India. See, the sectors which had a positive impact of COVID. See, we cannot say that COVID has only affected everybody adversely, but we can see that COVID has there are some sectors which are actually affected positively also during this COVID. They have got the chance and opportunity to boost themselves up, like groceries, entertainment, techno, insurance, digital or e-commerce, and healthcare or Ayurveda. So these are the sectors which I have found that they have got some sort of boom during the pandemic. So if we talk individually on this, this is the result of my findings as I've collected the data of 149 respondents according to that data and plus secondary data. I have made this assessment like this. So grocery, 84% said yes, it is on boom, 10% said no, they don't think so, and some of the 6% has no idea. So this is how a table has been prepared over here. You can see the diagram also. So this is the diagram for the same table. I have not taken the study in a very difficult manner. It is a very small and simple study because the time was limited, so that I have taken a very small and simple study. So this is how presentation of the people mindset and the people's actually thing on the particular the impact of coronavirus. See, this is the questionnaire discussion. So out of 149 respondents said 84% people said that they want to save the groceries for future, whereas 10% said no, they don't want to keep a stock, and 6% said they have no idea about it. And entertainment industry, 85% people said that during lockdown they are looking forward for the entertainment for which they preferred watching short movies through Netflix and Amazon Prime. So it can be said that Netflix got a boom during COVID as it got more number of viewers. 73% respondents said that they are learning new techniques during lockdown because it is mandatory for them to learn new skills as they are working from home. So also they have downloaded Zoom app for meeting. Thus Zoom has become one of the most downloaded apps during lockdown. 80% said they are not learning new things and 9% didn't answer the question. COVID has spread awareness all over the world about health and life. Out of all the respondents, 86% people said they are planning or already taken health or life insurance. Thus, insurance sector is in good position even during lockdown. 10% said that they are not aware and 4% are not interested to get. E-commerce has seen a drastic boom during COVID. Owners of small shops also have shifted themselves online, taking orders and getting home delivery done. 79% respondents said they are relying more on online trading because it's safe. 11% said they are still trading offline mode, and 10% didn't answer the question. Vision of people is merely shifted from medicines to yoga and from doctors to Ayurveda. People are now working more towards enhancing their immunity rather to make medicines for small diseases. Through survey, I have got to know that 68% people are keen to learn or already learned and practicing yoga, taking help of Ayurveda for enhancing their immunity system, whereas 20% said no, they are not doing any such practice, and 12% did answer the question. There are sectors which have been affected adversely due to COVID-19. So this can be manufacturing sector, tourism and transportation and hospitality, fashion industry, aviation sector, automobile sector, real estate and pharma. So these are the sectors which have been hit adversely during the lockdown. So tourism, hospitality and aviation are among the worst affected sectors that are facing the maximum brunt of the present crisis. Closing cinema theaters and declining footfall in shopping complexes has affected the retail sector by impacting consumption of both essential and discretionary items. Consumption is also getting impacted due to job losses and decline in income levels of people, particularly the daily wage earners, due to slowing activities in several sectors, including retail, construction, entertainment, etc. As per this survey, 95% people said they don't want to explore new places, as that there will be the highest risk of getting affected with COVID-19. Safety and hygiene have become topmost priority for everyone, and travel restrictions have severely impacted the transportation sector. 89% people said they are not going to shopping malls and theaters, thus these sectors are also facing huge loss. New segments and entrepreneurship opportunities. So 97% people realized that masks, sanitizer, PPE kits, ventilators have captured the biggest market. 82% people said that hotels are turned into quarantine rooms so that they could recover the loss in some percentage, not exactly, but in some percentage, they are able to recover the loss. 91% respondents said pharmacy industry is also able to survive due to increase in demand of medicines. 89% people realized that e-commerce is in boom. Home deliveries also turned into a good business, and 93% people observed that homemade food and snacks have become the first choice, but from the reliable sources. So these are the segments where entrepreneurship opportunities are lying actually. Let's see, this is what I have just observed, that the 20 lakh crore relief package by the government have been announced during the lockdown of 20 lakh crore, 1.7 lakh crore package of free food grains to poor and cash to poor women and elderly. So this is what the government of India has generously announced for the sake of poor people and poor women. All right. So one more scheme has been announced by the government of India, a special economic package. It is called Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, self-reliant scheme. The main motto of this scheme is to made in India, make in India, and made for India. So under this, various startup schemes have been introduced. Relief in interest and loan without interest is provided so that small-scale businesses will be initiated. So this is a very good initiative taken by Government of India for the enhancement of entrepreneurship development in the country during this lockdown. Yeah, so I am reaching on to around my conclusion. During this pandemic, the nation worked with brotherhood and unity all around. Food packets for street siders and poor was made available by sake of poor, unprivileged, and migrant workers, those who are visiting from one place to another, or the person who have lost their jobs. Bollywood stars and corporate sectors came forward to help people with respect to money, food, or traveling to their own houses. So the whole country is facing a different type of brotherhood and unity during this pandemic. We all have actually worked and walked all hand in hand. No community is coming in between. No religion is coming in between. Everybody is just feeling like I am an Indian and I'm working for India. These are all my brothers and sisters, and we are working like them, working for them. So a very good insight or a very good impact of coronavirus can be seen in India. Even this particular crisis or in a particular different time or difficult time, people are having empathy inside them and they are working for the sake of others. So this is the very beautiful thing I found during the corona. So I'm thankful for having this sort of thing in the world so that we can know that still harmony is alive. And I'm very thankful to Professor Mehboob for giving me this opportunity and for all the participants to have given me time and for their patient listening. Thank you very much. If there is any query, I can help in sorting it out. Otherwise, thanks a lot. You can reach to me by this. My email ID is janashu676@gmail.com. My mobile number is also there. So you just can talk to me anytime. I am an assistant professor in St. Aloysius College. I am also heading Department of Tax, Faculty of Commerce. So I'm grateful to every one of you for having me given this time. Thanks a lot. I hope I have not crossed the limit, Professor Mahmood. Uh, Hello. I think I have not crossed the limit, sir.
Professor-
Sir, your mic is.
Professor,
Sir,
your mic is
sir,
muted.
sir, microphone is off. Sir, please. Sir, this is Sarah. Microphone is off.
I am telling that, Dr. John, please write down your email ID in the chat box so that if anyone wants it, then they will
Sure.
just contact with you. Now I
Sure,
would
sure. Thank you.
like
Thank
to,
you so much.
thank you. Now I would like to request Dr. Pranjal Kumar Pokhan to speak very brief, please. Please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. This is myself from Dibrugarh, Assam, and I am presenting the slide to you now.
No need to slide. Just tell in a brief.
Okay. So what I'd like to say is I have heard all the
Fine.
presentations, and I have found that three things are very important in this situation of COVID-19. That is the supply chain resilience, supply chain digitizations, and finally one more concept called bionic supply chain, which is bionic supply chain is basically it is being the like supply chain making for the end-to-end solutions where companies can need to adopt a bionic operating model with the help of this adaptable bionic adaptable thing. Basically the key performance indicators that focus on optimizing the overall performance in any situations, a platform organization that works cross-functionally, and data and digital platforms can happen and enables, which can help in reducing the cost of like manufacturing, warehousing, distribution by 10 to 20%, and working capital by 15 to 20%. Because all in all, what we have seen that COVID-19 situation requires a very agile system where every processes of the organization, of the industry, or the business has to be flexible enough so that they can respond to the uncertainty, also thereby build a dynamic supply chain instead of static one. Because there are many technologies are happening, many technologies are available, many tools are available like AI-enabled tools, like we have the artificial intelligence, robotics, cloud computing, machine learning, then data analytics. So that's the reason I thought I should also speak on microservices, where it is instead of deploying the entire solutions to the organization for these business transformations, where organizations can deploy their respected services first in micro level, and then without waiting for everyone to finish, it can go step by step. Like we can have the importance of solution scalability, service implementations, containing failures and improving operational resilience and agility. These are the things we need to understand if we want to cope with the situations globally. I'm not speaking about India. I'm not speaking about Bangladesh or any other region or country. It is a global effect, and the effect can only happen if we can think, if we can act local and think global. Means we have to be vocal. Our Prime Minister is speaking many times that we have to be vocal, because through vocal only we can develop the entrepreneurs, we can develop the zeal among the communities, so that we can come up with the circular economies, we can support the economy, we can develop the things which are more agile and resilient. Okay, so with this, basically the time has come when we have to go with the traditional supply chain, with the latest supply chain, digitized supply chain, for a hybrid model where we can have all the things with the limitations. Limitations I'm showing, I will not be describing much on it. These are the limitations. But still, I think the hybrid supply chain solutions can be the only thing which can save our face in time to come. With this, I think I should not take much of your time. My point is very clear. To be subjective in the situation, we have to be resilient enough, we have to agile enough, we have to adapt enough, we have to upskill ourselves. All industry, all organizations have to upskill themselves. They have to be dynamic with the situation, or otherwise all these theoretical activities, theoretical things which we are discussing, which want to come to the ground, and people, the grassroots level, the entrepreneurs, micro industries, tiny industries, banking systems, everyone have to be in line with the system, aligned with the system, or otherwise time is very less, and so we cannot respond fast. I'm once again thankful to the Economist Forum of Dhaka School of Economics for giving me this opportunity, very beautiful opportunity, and I look forward for such opportunities more in coming days. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, sir.
Excellent discussion. Now I would like to request Mr. Anis A. Khan, former Managing Director and CEO, of mutual purpose to discuss. Sir. Mr. Anis Khan.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Mahbub Ali. Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to everybody. I am very privileged to be here, and thank you, Professor Mahbub Ali, and your team for inviting me, and also congratulations on assembling this international panel of experts. And I've already heard a few presentations. They're very high quality. I wish we had a whole day session, because the quality of the people that are assembled here is indeed very high, and you need more time to be able to listen to them and also ask questions of them, so that you can really make a take away from it. Just to give you a little background, I have been a career banker for 7 years with Standard Chartered Bank, and later on I headed for 11 years private bank in Bangladesh, privately owned bank in Bangladesh. Mutual Trust Bank, I was the chairman of the Association of Bangladesh. Currently, I am an adjunct professor at Independent University of Bangladesh and the board of several companies, and also the vice president of the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Women's Chamber. So the quality of the presentation, as I said, was very good. I assembled a presentation too, but this is a very basic presentation, and as you can see, there are a number of PhDs over here and so on. So that's the new normal. I thought that I would come in with a very basic definition of the new normal. And though there are a number of pages in this presentation, but I will not spend too much time on it and try to keep within my limits. And I'll skip through the presentation very quickly. So that's an introduction I've already given of myself to you. So we all know what COVID-19 is because of the year it was discovered, been named the COVID-19. And the new normal actually was used by an author, Robert A. Heinlein, in his 96 novel, where he said to his comrade neighbors, I hope you will comply willingly to speed the day when I can go out and life can get back to normal, a new normal. So he used this in the context of the colony being set up in the moon. And there are actually dreams and visions of setting up a colony there in the future. So the new normal, it is a state of an economy where the society settles following a crisis. And it is different from what it was before. And this was the term that has been used during the financial crisis of 2007 and 8 and later on. And you can see that there are references over here, and ABC News, BBC News, both in the United States and the United Kingdom and the New York Times, they have really popularized this name, the new normal. Now, China. Since 2012, China's economy started to make a marked slowdown, with growth declining from double digits before the 2007-2009 financial crisis, with 7% in 2014. And even Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Communist Party, he indicated in 2014, at that time, he was the president then, that China was entering a new normal. So during this pandemic, the term new normal has an increasing reference to changes of human behavior during and after the pandemic. And the doctors at the University of Kansas anticipate that the pandemic will change our daily life, which it already has. And of course, it limits person-to-person contact like handshakes and hugs. And additionally, maintaining distance from others or social distancing in general will likely stick around. I don't see people shaking hands in the near future. And in the subcontinent, in any case, you have the namaste. And the Muslims also have the salam, which is raising the hand. And in Thailand and other countries, they have the vai, which is also like a namaste. I always thought that was a more hygienic way of greeting people. The new normal, welcome to the beach. Welcome to a group. You have a reservation. And again, new normal, distancing, namaz, prayers, distancing. Look at this. This is incredible. This is in Netherlands. There are little, small cabins for the diners. Then Venice, everybody's favorite city, the romantic city, even there too. Look at this, for exercise. The test match being held now within Pakistan and England in the United Kingdom is being held under a bubble. Look at this one. This is from Florence. they're seeing a movie. You can't go to a movie house. So our routines are changing, and Twitter also came out with a research and a survey, and they looked at how people were adapting to isolation. And they said four things and based on what's happening, you need the accurate and reliable info. There's too much information going around which is not reliable and which causes panic and distrust in people. Because of the proliferation of social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc., and WhatsApp, people are circulating information at in split seconds, which cannot be correct. So customer service and support is required. Distraction and levity is not good. The community and positivity is extremely important. These I will not dwell on, but you can see some numbers over there. What are our personal physical health needs of people? Good night's sleep is on the top. Getting fresh air, etc., etc. So it is given there in order important. And how are you managing what are the back on the right side? You can see people are losing sleep, people are not exercising properly. Mental health also, you will see all these. And over here also, you will see that a break from screen. So we have been on the screen so long, all of us. We have not taken break whole day. Even after I finish this, I go into another meeting at 8 p.m. Bangladesh time. So we need to take more breaks from school. We also need to read positive stories, what I just said earlier. But again, not everybody is over. I've been home for nearly 5 months. Not everybody is feeling bored yet. And only 13 people say they are bored. So digital is the new normal. I'm reaching out to you through digital, through the internet, so advertising, branding, everything has now gone digital. So COVID-19 and the economy and how it has affected the global economy in three main ways: by directly affecting production, by creating supply chain and market disruption, and by financial impact on firms and financial markets. We need to dwell more on this because of time.
Sir, you have only 1 minute time.
Okay, that's too less for what I have assembled over anyway. I'll just flip through the slides then if it is only 1 minute. So this is the economic impact, food closures, etc. Then the worst case scenario for GDP in South Asian nations. You can see that Bangladesh will be second least affected. Maldives the most affected at nearly 5%. This is the economic impact of coronavirus on Bangladesh, estimated loss of $3 billion. And there are the figures given over here. The impact on production, obviously, if China doesn't produce, the government apparel, the backward linkage merchandise doesn't come to Bangladesh for Bangladesh to produce to the world. Then the supply chain. If everything is closed, the planes are not traveling, and the ships are not flying, then you have a supply chain problem. The trucks are not flying. The financial impact is extremely important because they stress some firms, and then there is inadequate liquidity, and then it causes liquidity problems in banks also. As a banker, I would like to dwell more on this, but again, there is no time. The scenario, the worst is over. The transmission in China has slowed, but there are again a second resurgence in many countries of the world. But let's see how this pans out. And although the spread of the disease in China slowed, outbreaks are, as I said, occurring on a rolling basis around the world. And the global pandemic response from the UN and the World Health needs more traction. We need to really speed up the vaccine, trials so that more and more people can get inoculated and people will really go out into the world. So the latest updates, you can see Airbus has stopped its production in China, in Toyota, GM, etc. This is a photo from China during the Chinese New Year. Everything was shut. Hyundai in South Korea has halted production lines. Honda has 3 plants in Wuhan. And then ESA, GlaxoSmithKline. They have also said that its facility in Tianjin will be closed. Apple, which has suppliers in Wuhan, they are also saying the returning rate of the factory will also not be there. Just a few more. But again, it's time to step up. Things will go bad. We must remain resilient. We must work hard. And then we must not step back. And so we must always wear a mask. And thank you. I've tried to speak through this presentation as much as I could. And here's my email address in case anybody is interested to get a copy or say anything to me. You can't be here talking about it. Thank you.
Most welcome. I would like to be very happy that our chief guest of the program, Dr. Kazi Khulifuzzaman Ahmed sir, is with us. He just joined. Now, I would like to request our Professor Anup Chaudhuri sir to speak his observation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. First of all, my gratitude to Dr. Ali Mahbub Ali and your teammate Sara Tanseeb. She always makes the whole thing so interesting and making the helping the presenters. It was always brilliant to have her over here. And the presentations, I find that always people who are very close to me, Dr. Anise Khan is there, Dr. Kazi Khulifuzzaman has joined, and I know our time is limited. Can you see my presentation?
Sir, you are discussing the presentation.
I am discussing because my presentations are always different. So you'll find that if that is there, that will act as a prop. That's the thing. So the thing is that whenever the whole thing started, maybe the kind of papers which had been presented over there, some of the papers I really liked because I found that the presenters, maybe I liked Suthasini, the way she presented the Thai scenario of education. And maybe later on, I found Supratim Chaudhuri, the way he had presented the HR challenges. Third, Dr. Samsud-Zaman, that was very close to my heart because we are doing the same thing, moving from red ocean to blue ocean. And Dr. Nadia about the women entrepreneurs. You see that right now we can see the things because a lot of things have been presented. I am not going to what others have presented. We can see the things from two angles. Either we see the thing from a positive angle or maybe from the negative side. So we can see the dark side or the brighter side. So we understand the dark side which had been mentioned by many people of coronavirus. We had seen many deaths. We experienced, even my neighbors, my friends, some of the people, they have died due to corona, and still people are dying. So that is something. A huge job cut has been experienced. We have found that many people lost their jobs, and even that is something which is in India also. But we are trying to see the side which is brighter. Even in our office, we had 11 young people, but in end of March, whenever many of our training programs got cancelled, at that point of time, we are very much affected. And we didn't know that how to survive because it is not only me because I can manage, but many of the young people, they have their families. How will you survive? Therefore, we started to think in a different way, and therefore I am talking about Samsud-Zaman Sahib that we were thinking of going into the blue ocean. That means we started a number of things from corporate training program. We had come for small training programs for the MSMEs and helping them in design thinking or making psychometric analysis for them where they can go and they can do things. And at the same time, we have taken up a project where we find that it is very close. So whenever we see the impact of COVID-19, some of the things are very close to an war. It's a kind of a global war. What are the things which are similar? Death is one thing which is happening just like that, what happens in war. Closure of industries, then loss of jobs, inflation or deflation, both are bad for the economy, we all know. Negative or very slow growth rate and increase in gold price. Normally, these are the things which are finding it right now. On the other hand, it is different from war. During war, the petroleum price rises. Here, it is not like that there is a less demand for petroleum because less movement of vehicles. Destruction of infrastructure was not much there, and pollution level normally after any war that goes up, this is
Sorry, Professor Arup Chaudhary sir, are you hearing me? So now we have started the closing session. I would like to request Dr. Yashoda Durge and to present her paper. It is jointly written with Dr. Durge and another co-author.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. Just give me a second to put up my PPTs, please. I'll just take a minute.
In the meantime, we are very happy that our chief guest joined, but we miss Professor Arup sir.
Right. Can I request everybody to let me know if you all can see my presentation?
Yes, we can see you.
We are seeing that. Yes.
Yes, we can see you.
We see you. Please start. Make it a slide bigger. Is there any technical problem, Doctor? Is there any technical problem? Can you hear me, Dr. Yashoda?
Hello.
Yes, we hear you. Where is your presentation?
Yeah. Basically, the connection got lost. Just give me a second. I'll put it up.
Okay. We miss Professor Arup sir.
So, I just want to ask the audience, can you all see the presentation, please?
No.
Is it visible? Just give it a minute, please.
No problem.
It's coming on.
Okay.
Is it visible?
No. Not yet.
You need to share this slide, ma'am.
Yes, I'm sharing. I'm sharing.
Now it is visible.
Is it visible now? Yeah.
Now it is visible.
Make it bigger.
Make it on.
Make it bigger. Just a second. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yes, you are expert, but we miss.
Right. Okay. So the paper name is COVID-19: A Threefold Impact on Retailers. My name is Dr. Yashoda Durge. I'm an associate professor at GNVS Institute of Management, Mumbai. and my co-author is Rukmini Durge. And here goes. So, retailers tackle changes on three fronts. Problem fronts have been store rents, suppliers and logistics, and employee salary. These three have been a problem for retailers as of this COVID-19 problem. So suppliers and logistics, supply disruptions, we all know they've been commonplace during COVID-19. Products have to reach the mandis and the retail stores before end consumers get their hands on it. And it took a backseat. No trucks were allowed to go through any of the checkpoints once the lockdown was imposed, and food prices escalated a bit because of that. In case of mega cities like Mumbai, where I live in India, for the first few weeks, we saw complete lockdown, and e-commerce retailers such as Amazon, DMart Ready, and StarQuick were unable to reach deliveries to customers. Now, these were the online e-commerce platforms. Everything was just shut down. The physical format stores of modern retailers like DMart, Reliance Retail, Star Bazaar were simply not operational. And here I put up a slide of DMart Ready, their online site, saying we are not accepting orders currently. And dear customers, we are working on delivering the backlog of orders. We have adequate stocks, but not enough staff. And here's another one. This is StarQuick saying that due to high demand, we are not accepting any orders at all. So a large number of customers were simply stuck. Now, what happened with the small retailers? Ironically enough, small retailers selling essential items were the only shops allowed to remain open for a limited number of working hours. And I put up this photo of one milk shop, which is in my area. And there's that young lady who's a photograph I took with her permission. And you see that retailer has kept his grill open, shut rather. And he's trying to operate, keeping a social distance through that. So the small shops were all operating this way. Then you have forward and backward supply chains. These were rapidly disturbed in a matter of few weeks. Suppliers and manufacturers were brought to a screeching halt as retailers refused to collect finished goods, honor payments, and stop future orders. So what happens with all this? Chaos. Retailers have been left with excess idle inventory in warehouses, leads to rising storage costs and operational costs also. Also, retailers were left reeling as revenues dipped to near zero figures from mid-March. After the subsequent easing of the lockdown, many retailers who had an online presence were able to meet customer demand and generate via the e-commerce channel. But there's always a but. Once the lockdown started easing up, the high influx of online orders put a strain on the less developed forward-linking supply chains, and retailers were simply unable to deliver on time as their stores and warehouses were overloaded. And there is this lovely DMart photograph with a yellow light, amber light. We are experiencing heavy traffic on our servers. Please try after some time. Now I request my co-author, Rukmini Durge, to take the next couple of slides, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Rukmini and I am the co-author of the paper. So the second dimension that we're looking at, sorry, is there a disturbance?
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so the second dimension talks about store rents. So a lot of retailers, because of the government issued lockdowns, had to shut shops for a long time. So initially there were temporary closures, and most of the retailers tried to take relief in the form of delayed payments and rent, and also they tried to cut rents and say that we'll pay only half, so on and so forth. As the months went forward, a lot of retailers took decisions to then permanently shut down a lot of their stores, especially if we look at clothing and footwear retailers whose revenues had gone to total zero. They couldn't afford to pay store rents at all because they were not getting any money in. So for example, Zara, the clothing and footwear retailer, has now decided to shut down 1,200 stores, and its counterpart H&M has also decided to shut 750 stores. So as store rents is a major expenditure for most retailers, they now have to look at the profitability and viability of these stores, of these offline stores. And now looking at the third dimension, that would be employee salaries. Employee salaries actually form a large portion of an organization's expenditure. Most of their income goes into, most of their expenditure depends on paying employees and so on and so forth. So there are two dimensions. One is the clothing and footwear retailers who actually had to shut shops during the pandemic. They were completely, or most stores were shut, so they had to furlough employees, and many employees also lost jobs due to this because they couldn't afford to pay them, and they had to tell employees to leave. On the second hand, there were retailers like clothing and footwear ones, which actually had to take on more employees because they were seeing so many online orders and they were seeing such an increase in footfall during this period as people started stockpiling on essential items. So there's an international retailer, Asda, that came up with a employee sharing deal with McDonald's, where this was voluntary, and they asked McDonald's employees, delivery people, to come forward and help out with online delivery since they were seeing so many. And when we look at these are the vulnerable, when we look at, I would request my co-author to please move to the next slide. Okay, anyway, I think there's a connection issue.
Hello?
Yeah, identifying vulnerabilities. So these are, yeah, we can see the next slide. So when it comes to identifying vulnerabilities, the main one is on the employees front.
Problem.
Yeah. So I'll just continue. I think you can already see the slide. Even when employees were coming in, they were scared, of course, because of the virus. And okay, I think she has lost the connection. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, I'll just quickly present and start. Hi, so can you see my screen right now?
No.
We see your picture. Now we can see it.
Okay, so I'll now you can see this identity. So the main thing was on the employees front, where they were either scared and they did not want to report to work, or many employees could not report to work. So in Mumbai especially, we've seen a lot of malls where employees come from faraway places, the trains are not working, so they were not able to come to work, and of course out of the fear of their safety. And the main point is on the supply chain front. A lot of the supply chains were disrupted, and since the supply chains have been so diversified over the period of many years that they've been set up, to obviously take into the lowest cost supply chains, things move across the country, and with so many restrictions put in place, even the biggest retailers like Amazon and Flipkart and so on and so forth had to, were faced with a lot of restrictions when it came to moving goods. And in
Rukmini, thank you. Rukmini, thank you. Thank you. I'll take over now because we've got 12 minutes. We've got 12 minutes.
I'll stop presenting.
So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. I have to get back to presenting the screen. Just a second. Rukmini, can you stop presenting your screen, please?
I have stopped presenting my screen.
Okay. Then I'll just check out what's happening. I'm really sorry, everyone. Okay, you present your screen since I'm unable to present it. Could you
Yeah,
just present it,
I
please?
will. Just give me a second.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you. So, could you move to the next one, please? Learning from the pandemic, WhatsApp for business, especially useful for very small businesses, those who work from home. Please remember, WhatsApp for business is free. So normally we have our own WhatsApp. There's WhatsApp for business, and there's another third formation also. Marketing automation. Is there any possible way in which I can automate my marketing responses? So you have email, you have SMS, you have WhatsApp messages. Everything simply gets done automatically. So instead of employing somebody who will do it for you, you have marketing automation to do it absolutely easily. Then conserving cash. Instead of renovating your stores, instead of going in for new ideas and new problems now, best to conserve cash that's at this point and relooking your business processes. Could you go to the next one? So if you look at the screen now, this is what a WhatsApp for business looks like. So your normal WhatsApp, what you have to do is convert it to a business settings, and then you can create a catalog out of it. Go to the next one, please. You can show all your customers your products. You can show them what you have. You can send out mass messages to your customers. So WhatsApp ecosystem works in three ways. One is for normal individual customers. Then you have WhatsApp for business. That is apps for corporate SMEs, and its usage is free. Now, if you look at WhatsApp business solutions with API for automation, call centers, paid usage, all this requires approval. And there are companies like Twilio and WA Local which help you do this. Go to the next one, please. Staying relevant in the lives of communication and communicating with customers. Communication is most important. I'm sure there are many shoppers who want to get out and shop right now, but I don't even know whether the shops are open. Nobody picks up the phone. So as a retailer, all I have to do is send a message to the customer that, look, these are the altered shop timings. This is what you have to do. And that works. What do I expect from clothes, from products? If I'm going to be a stay-at-home person and I'm going to teach from home, if I'm going to work from home, what kind of clothes will I need? I'll need simpler, smarter looking stuff. Maybe that doesn't require ironing. And this is what companies have to fulfill now. Agility in pivoting business models. Now, just suppose you're a restaurant and you were a walk-in restaurant and people come, they sit and they dine at your place. How do you pivot your model? You keep the restaurant open, but not for people to come and sit. You have a takeaway model. You home deliver. And that is how you survive in such pandemic times. Next, please. Change. And the new word now is hyper agile. How can we change fast enough? And how can we change the employees' mindsets fast enough? Since I'm a faculty, I teach at an institute. The first week of the lockdown, we were told we will be off for 10 days and we'll have to go back to work by the 1st or 2nd of April. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And I thought, okay, I don't have to take class online. It's difficult. I don't know whether we'll be able to cope with it. How will the students be able to manage? But after 7 days, I realized nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to open up. And somehow I just said nothing doing. I have to change and start taking classes online. So I invested in some software and some hardware and ensured that my students are connected, started online. So other businesses also, hyper agility. Can I pivot my model? Can I change? How can I change it? How can I have business continuity and ingenuity of thought? What can I do? And there are two most important factors companies have to look at now. One is on the employee front and the other is on the customer front. On the employee front, my employees are afraid to come to work. Retailers did not have any employees reporting to work at all because employees fear. And they are the front line. They are the ones who are going to sell and they are the ones who are going to deliver the products. And my customers. How can I prevent my customers from fearing and coming to my shops? Thank you very much. I'm really sorry about the break in the line, but thank you for your attention to this presentation.
Excellent presentation, ma'am. You and your co-author, thank you very much. Now, we would like to request our colleague from Mexico, Professor Jose G. Vargas Hernandez, to join and speak on this occasion. Professor Hernandez from Mexico.
Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this event. As you know, we are all in trouble. And there are some dysfunctionalities going on right now, and all the weaknesses that are showing is because things doing my presentation. See, I don't find you here. Like you said.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear
Okay.
you clearly.
Yeah. Let me see.
Okay, Professor.
How can I share my?
Please discuss on this issue.
Oh. It's not okay. I'll try it.
Professor, please discuss on this issue kindly. Oh my goodness, he left. I would like to request Professor Anisul Islam from USA to speak on this issue.
What happened to the professor from Mexico?
I found he left. When he will join, this is an online reality. Just few minutes back, we lost Professor Orosha.
Problem in the real time. Disconnection, net problem.
Okay,
Net problem not
Professor
in the
Anisul
Bangladesh,
Islam.
also in other countries, net is a problem. In developed country, also net problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Please.
Problem
Hello.
Anis bhai. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, we can hear you. Hello.
His mic
Anis
is
bhai,
mute.
can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you.
He must unmute his mic.
Anis bhai, your mic is still mute. It should be unmute. You please, Anis bhai, unmute your mic.
একে জানাতে চাচ্ছি যেন আমাকে ডাকে টেলিফোনে বলুন না এখানে ফোন করে
আমি তো কিছুই পারি না আসলে
Anis bhai, please unmute your mic.
He is not listening.
My goodness.
হ্যালো ডক্টর মাহবুব আলী
হ্যাঁ ওনার তো আনমিউট আছে মনে হয়
হ্যালো
Yes.
Oh, I'm Murtuza Ali. I'm waiting since long. Have you skipped me?
Okay, okay. You can speak unless he unmute. 5 minutes, sir.
Okay.
I could not understand.
Murtuza bhai, please, if you want to speak, 5 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I was not supposed to speak here, but in the second session, somehow it was skipped. So I'm just filling the gap. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mahbub Ali, for inviting me in this excellent presentations from different parts of the world, from different institutions, and from different angles we have heard on three aspects: this impact of COVID-19 in economics, in business strategies, and supply chain management. Anyway, so I was not talking on all the three topics, but let me talk on a particular issue. It's about the strategic management that we need to have to address the COVID-19 situation and post-COVID-19 situation. We all know that things are changing rapidly and very rapidly. So we need to change our skill set. Our strategies to be changed, and our strategic management policies also need to be changed. And we should have to change our mindset also. So these are the aspects that we need to take care of. Because I was just thinking that there have been many disruptions, but we didn't discuss, except Mr. Anisa Khan, he touched some points, that what disruptions we are facing in our mind and body, whether there are the good diets, good sleep, and how it is affecting our stress. So if we are not in peace of mind, how can we really handle the situation? We means the individuals who are responsible for an organization, for a department, or for us, or CEO, or Vice Chancellor, whoever may be in the helms of affairs, they need to have a proper supply chain management within their body and within the mindset. If we cannot think properly, we cannot work properly. So the first thing is that the CEOs or those who are in the helms of affairs, they need to ask themselves that what strengths have been weakened during this COVID-19 period. Then what opportunities the COVID-19 offers us. So these are the two things. And another thing, that what weaknesses need to be strengthened under the present situation, and what values are most important during the COVID situation, and what threats have been cropped up during the situation, and where we want to go, and what are the next stages in our strategic planning and strategic management. Peter Drucker, one of the guru of management, said that strategy is interesting, but implementation is everything. So we are talking about many things, but the thing is that how do we implement it in our organization and in our home, in our office, and everything. So we need to realize that one company or one organization cannot run independently. We need to depend on others. Each and every organization dependent on other organization or other supply chain or other competitor. And so they're not living in an isolated island. So although we have been suggested to keep distance and stay in isolation during COVID-19, but practically we are not. We are related to each other through different medias. Maybe that we are not having face-to-face meetings, but we are having it through Google or some platform. So this is we are experiencing. So we need to generate a number of integrated solutions to address the COVID-19 situation, because some problems have cropped up. So we need to solve these problems. And these problems have to be solved in an integrated way. And what I feel that the shaping strategies can help us to create new value creation emerging from the unanticipated crisis. So we shall have to think that strategies have to be made, and these strategies have to be realistic. We need to have clarity of thinking, where we are, where we want to go, how we should go. So clarity of thinking is very much important. And then we need to clarify what our employees or our team members are going to do, how they are going to handle and address the unprecedented situation now prevailing throughout the world. So it is the leaders who need to evaluate actual work being done and to be done and how it can work, our work plans to be changed. So these points are very important, and how we engage our people, the most important part is that how we engage our people to handle the situation. It is me alone or you alone cannot handle the situation. We have team members and we need to take along with us in the same boat. We shall have to think alike and we shall have to plan alike and we shall have to work together. So it is very much necessary that how you engage our people to address the problems arising out of changing situations. And what we offer to our customers. Practically, we have some clients, we have some customers, we feed someone. So what we are going to offer them under the present situation? The customers are increasingly looking out for smooth delivery. They don't want any friction in between the supply and the delivery. So what addition, and further we shall have to think that what additional services we need to offer to them. Finally, what we feel that our team members need to be encouraged so that they become cool and calm and take decisions and apply these decisions in a methodical approach, whatever comes next. So we need to know how we navigate in this pandemic situation smoothly during this crisis and post-COVID. It entirely depends on who are heading the organizations. It's not a single man decision, of course, but it is finally, it is the head of the department, how the head of the organization shall have to decide on certain points, maybe in consultation with all his team members. So it entirely depends on who are heading the organization and which requires resilient leadership qualities. And for that matter, we need to empower the teams of the organization to take courageous decisions and actions in a volatile and situation and respond quickly. New business models have to come up. Old models will no longer work. So how it emerges, that we shall have to find out, and then we'll have to take action on this basis. Whether it's a new normal or abnormal situation, that's not our issue. Our main issue is that we need to be, we means the people need to be, people in the hands of affairs need to be above normal. They should not be abnormal. They should not be, worried. They must not be affected by anxieties and worries. There must be peace of mind so that we can take decisions and we can then move forward. That is what we have been doing, we shall be doing, or we shall have to do more than what we had been doing before the COVID-19 situation and maybe the post-COVID situation. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak in this August forum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request our guest, Professor Anisul Islam, to speak.
I think our friend from Mexico is back. Is it?
Yes, I would like to participate. Thank you very much. You are very kind. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Please.
Yes, I can check. Okay. I was trying to present my slides because it shows but I think it will be difficult to show them. However, I will make a reflection. My presentation is about how the work culture is changing here in Mexico. Well, we try to find solutions to this situation. My university is a very large university. It's 280,000 students with 20 campuses. So you can imagine the difficulties to organize and also to give continuity to the programs. However, despite of all the problems we have had until now, mainly that not cover all the areas. It's quite difficult to reach the students, and we need to find another way to work with them. Well, this situation has led us to design a hybrid course, even that courses that we know how risky it is. However, we have designed not only to maintain online courses using some platforms, which we have done already and we are going to do very soon, but also we are trying to organize in some areas, not in campus, but outside campus, areas where a professor or the teachers can reach the students and keeping all the distance possibilities to work with them. Let me see, I think, yes, right now? Sorry, can you see my presentation?
No. Maybe internet trouble.
Oh, no, okay, sorry.
So, sir.
Okay, so I will continue. Yes, I will continue explaining. So, sorry?
Okay.
I repeat. Okay. There are several solutions we have adopted also for flexi time. Since the professors are not going to sign the courses every day, they are going also to understand that they need to be different to teaching them, and also having some meetings with other classmates and colleagues, so-called academies, and also the administration is teaching us through different ways, but still something is missing in between. One of the big problems is the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is not area, even in a city like this one, Guadalajara, that is on people, including the metropolitan areas. There are some areas where the Wi-Fi is very weak and it's not in good condition. The thing is that the students go to the university are very poor students. They don't have facilities to get in touch digitally with the students. So they are organizing themselves with the professors, teachers, and all the classmates to reach all of them. I'm sorry that I told you that I have no time to explain what is the theoretical frameworks that are in all these changes, which are in my PowerPoint presentations. One of these key issues is the flexi time, and also another one is the telecommuting. That means using half of the time here at home and part of the time at the university, in rolling for 2 or 3 days a week each professor, and only part-time, and giving the opportunity that other professors go other days and so forth, and informally for supervising tests is supervising, for example, their advances in research and so forth. So this is really very, very messy for us. However, we know that we need to change our attitude. First of all, this is the point. We need to change our attitude. We need to find solutions to these problems that we have, and we are fortunately doing something that can be useful. Last semester, last period of academic, nobody missed it. All of us, fortunately, got good outcomes. Professors and teachers that do not have too many soft skills or on these platforms, they were get some help from not only from advances but also from the university department to good to help to these teachers that don't have the soft skills. And there is a problem going on at the university right now, teaching some skills, but also all the instruments, the digital instruments and techniques that digitally we know we need to know. So in that sense, the university getting out of this mess, and fortunately we are doing very well. I am sorry that not have couldn't present my PowerPoint presentation, which is very large indeed. They have more detailed aspects, the theoretical frameworks of this, also ethical points of this situation. But it's for you. So I can send you to the organizers and you ask for them. It's quite interesting. But at the center of this, I would say, is the attitude. Changing attitudes is important, and meeting the academic requirements with a new behavior, changing of culture is the best way to meet this pandemic. And hopefully are doing very well until now.
Okay.
Despite that, we can get the results. And thank you very much. And sorry for
welcome. I hope that your article will be published in the book. You have already sent the article, so thank you very much for your nice discussion. Now I would like to request another guest from USA, Professor Anisul M. Islam, to speak on this occasion.
I'm sorry, Mahbub, can you hear me?
Yes, we can clearly hear you.
Can you see my slide?
No, there is no slide. Go to discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry, we use here Zoom, but we're not very familiar with Google Meet, so maybe that's causing some problem here. First of all, thank you to Professor Mahbub Ali and Professor Dr. Khaliquzaman and also other organizers from the Dhaka School of Economics. And good morning to you all. I wanted to talk about COVID-19 and its impact on the global economy, and a little bit about policy dilemma that we are facing. So my slides is not working, so I'll just talk about briefly. Is that COVID-19, we all know, is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in this generation. It's a generational challenge, and it's a challenge for consumers or households. It's a challenge for businesses. It's a challenge for governments. It's a challenge for the entire world economy and the whole world. So it's a big challenge, and but however, the pandemics and such challenges is not new to mankind. We had many such challenges happen in the past, like the Spanish flu killed millions of people. So best thing is try to understand, as some of the speakers have said, to be agile to be flexible, and that is very fundamental. For example, this meeting is happening. We are having difficulties because we live in different countries, use different platforms and different digital technology and different kind of systems. So it creates a lot of problems, but we are still surviving and learning in doing these things. So the thing that it is two things that happen. The global economy has been severely affected, and with all the health policies that have been implemented in different countries, called social distancing, lockdowns, shutdowns, mobility restrictions, and the different countries are taking steps at different levels. And this has a positive impact in terms of trying to save lives, because without this, many people will die, many more people will die. But at the same time, it has a very severe adverse effect on livelihood. So we have a conflict between life and livelihood now. This is not similar to, say, economic crisis. We went through the 2007-2009 crisis, and at that time we faced economic crisis, unemployment, business closures, economic slowdown or declines. We call recessions. I called it Great Recession. Mahugan, I had a paper on global recession that came out after the global crisis. So those crises has a different kind of trade-offs, and compared to this one is affecting both life and livelihood. There's a big conflict between, should we preserve life or should we preserve livelihood? Livelihood, I mean economy, jobs, income, consumption, all these are part of livelihood. So the response has been to save life initially, because there is no other known way to control the pandemic. Because we don't have any other way. We don't have vaccines, we don't have medicines. And so we had to use health policy, strict health policy, which means all these things are shutdowns and lockdowns, all that. So the adverse effect of this is on the livelihood. Businesses have been closing. Many speakers have talked about it. Business closing, people are losing jobs, losing income, and some people are dying from lack of health facilities. Many countries, like including Bangladesh, the health system has, especially the private sector, has shut down completely, and people are dying not only from the pandemic but also from lack of health and medical facilities and cares. So we have a serious effect on life and livelihood. To protect this life and livelihood, what we are doing, we are trying to, governments and organizations are trying to come out with support packages. Okay, support packages means in terms of fiscal policy, in terms of monetary policy. I have some slides showing how different countries are doing in terms of support policies. So some countries are doing a lot of support. The United States, for example, is one of them. Trillions of dollars of fiscal package has been given, and also monetary support in trillions of dollars. So it's just a big support program, but still life is being lost. And as the economies are opening up here, and as I saw in India also, as the economies are opening up, more and more people are getting infected, and more lives are being lost. And so I just heard in news in India, it is now the third highest number of cases, known reported confirmed cases. But in United States is the highest, and second is Brazil, then India, and Bangladesh is also coming up to quite close. I had the slide showing Bangladesh, India, and all that, but I did not show you. But India is now third highest number of cases, and all these reported cases are just underestimates. In some scientists are saying that the number of cases may be 10 times more than what is being reported and confirmed. So it's a huge effect. So the economic effect is to protect the livelihood of people, economic policies, to protect livelihood. So in this case, European Union has come with a big package, United States has come with big package, China, India has come with packages, Bangladesh has come with some packages, and IMF, all organizations, particularly IMF, is giving loans and also flexible credit lines to poor and developing countries. And I'm sure that Bangladesh is also trying to get some benefit from IMF support. So these supports are necessary to save livelihood. and also life, because if the economy shuts down, then more people will die from lack of jobs and lack of income and lack of food and lack of medical. So until the what is the solution? Until any vaccine or any medicines that are developed and discovered to control the crisis, we will have to face this dilemma, policy dilemma. We have to have a health policy to control the life, to save life, but at the same time, we have to provide support, because the adverse effect is on livelihood. So to provide support, financial and economic support, so that vulnerable people and businesses all can survive in this situation. And so that policy is essential now, along with the health policy. But the problem is that some has been raising concerns about those economic support policies. One of them is that every government's budget is becoming busted, and the public debt and national debt and deficits are rising rapidly, and how people will pay for this in the future. That's one concern. And second concern is that how fast the economy will recover, so that this situation can be controlled and budget deficit can be reduced gradually. However, there's another one aspect is that when governments is under big debt, the problem is, another issue comes is because the government's hands become tied to deal with future crises. This is not the last crisis. We have to deal with this crisis. At the same time, we have to think about any future crisis. It can be another pandemic, health pandemic, or it can be a health environmental catastrophe. There's many cases we all know about global warming and climate change. So those things we also concern about. So when businesses, governments spend money, I would suggest, or many people are suggesting that they have to smart think, not only to change their business models from what is happening, but keeping in mind, especially businesses, keeping in mind the climate change, that can also create a lot of disruptions, supply chain disruptions, economic disruptions. So not only health pandemics, but also climate crisis. So businesses should be smart enough to think ahead of time to make their business model such that they could be more flexible. One of the examples is supply chain. Many people talked about it. Supply chain is being disrupted. And then so the business have to rethink about supply chain also. So some businesses may come closer to shore. Some businesses may come closer to a region rather than a global spread of the supply chain. So those things have been suggested. But let's see how businesses deal with it. So flexible supply line, global supply chain will be very, very helpful for the future. So given this, I think many speakers are there. So I will take any question if anybody have any question. But this is a very serious time, and we all have to face this challenge. Government has to think smart also. Government has to think how they spend money towards the smart, how to deal with the climate change that can happen, and also another future crisis. So businesses and governments have to think very smart, and consumers and workers have to change their way of life as well. And until the pandemic is under control. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, and thanks again to Dhaka School of Economics. I've been a faculty at the Dhaka University before, so I have a very strong connection with the university. So and the Dhaka School of Economics, I just met Dr. Mahbubali and Dr. Fazlul Jawan, I think 2 years ago. So and wish you all the best in this in your institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Anand Bhai, for your nice discussion. We can take the question after our chief guest address.
Sure. Yes.
Before that, I have one thing to say. That is, we have to stay with COVID, and to stay with the COVID, we need the vaccine. And vaccine should be available in free market, because if it is not given in the free market, then it may be hoarded, and at that time people cannot avail the vaccine. So, intellectual property rights about the vaccine, but who said that is properly, that is actually correct? Whatever the vaccine is good, that will be should be available for everyone. Now it is time to hear from our learned chief guest, Professor Dr. Kazi Kholiquzzaman. Sir, microphone should be muted. Unmuted, sir, please.
Right. Thank you very much. There are no other speakers?
No, sir.
You have exhausted all the speakers, have you?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, I'll try to be very brief. This topic is very big, very large. And in a meeting like this, it's almost impossible to cover all this. And most important is new normal. What is new normal? We don't know. Nobody knows. And for maybe